Hey y'all. Today I was strolling on Twitter and I ran across this story about Jessica Rose and her boyfriend, Travion, and them suing a doctor for literally decapitating their kid. So I haven't closed the press conference so that you guys can go ahead and watch it because it is crazy. And y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. Wow.
Tell you all about what happened. Okay. On July the 9th, 2023, just a few weeks ago, Jessica and Travion, they were excited. She was 37 weeks pregnant at that time, and they were really, really looking forward to the delivery of their firstborn child. Her water broke at about 10 o'clock in the morning on the 9th. Appropriately, she went over to labor and delivery over the Southern Regional. They admitted her and put her on an IV and gave her some medicine to basically progress the delivery. She labored for about 10 hours, and then probably around 10, or strike that, about 8:40 in the evening, she was fully dilated, and they told her to start pushing. Well, during the course of the pushing, the baby stopped descending. There's something called a shoulder dystocia, fancy word for saying that the baby's shoulders could not fit through the pelvic girdle. It got stuck by the bone there in the pelvic girdle. That was recognized, and what wound up happening after that is just brutal. Dr. St. Julian came in, and she, in the process of trying to deliver this baby, pulled on the baby's head and neck so hard and manipulated them so hard that the bones in the baby's skull, face, and neck were broken. When Dr. St. Julian finally took Miss Ross to the operating room for a C-section, cesarean section, where they cut the belly and deliver the baby through the abdomen, when the womb was open, the feet came out, the body came out, and there was no head. The head was stuck in the vagina, and the head subsequently was delivered vaginally. The baby had been decapitated. Dr. St. Julian was grossly negligent for applying ridiculously excessive force on the baby's head and neck. Dr. St. Julian and the nurses at Southern Regional Medical Center, they were grossly negligent for not getting the help of the on-site in-hospital OB in a timely manner. They have a hospitalist obstetrician who's there on site, and when doctors have problems with delivery, the first thing you do is call them and you get help. You get another perspective, another angle. This was not done in a timely manner, negligently. And then also, the nurses at Southern Regional Medical Center were grossly negligent for failing to advocate and insist in other capacities that Ms. Ross got a C-section quicker, sooner, in a more timely manner. So those are the allegations that we claim in this suit. We just filed it. We're going to be very, very aggressive with the discovery. We're going to put all of these people who were in the room under oath and find out what they have to say specifically about what happened that tragic evening. That is the essence of our suit. That's the essence of the press conference, and we're going to open things up for open things up for question right now.
Have you spoken with the hospital? I mean, why do you think they tried to cover this up?
Yeah, we cannot speculate about what the motivations were for the lack of candor, the lack of disclosure, the misrepresentation, and the fraud. We will find out because we're going to put everybody under oath, and they're going to swear, and they're going to tell us what they were thinking. We don't know.
How long did it take Jessica and everyone to learn what happened to their child?
Attorney Lynch, if you would. This is dealing with the fraud and cover-up.
The family went in on the 9th for the delivery of the child. They were not notified of what actually happened until the 13th, a few days later.
And that was from the medical examiner? That wasn't
No, that was from the funeral home.
That was from the funeral.
Yes.
Can you also speak to the fact that they were not allowed to hold their child?
Yes, they were not allowed to hold their child. The hospital basically said, hey, well, we can't let you hold the child. We can, and my understanding is that they at one time did not want them to see the child. But what they did, the hospital wrapped the child up very tightly so that they could not see what actually happened, and that they were able to see the child behind the glass.
And let me be more specific. In an attempt to basically misrepresent and miscommunicate to the family, when they wrapped this baby up tightly, they propped the baby's head up on top of the blanket to make it appear as though the head was actually attached when it wasn't.
So they actually saw the baby on the day of the delivery?
The day that morning, well, the day of the delivery, is my understanding, that same day. So when I say same, they kind of went from the 9th into the 10th. So the stat C-section was called at about close to midnight. The surgery was over at 3 in the morning. The first conversation that Dr. St. Julian had with the couple was at about 5 in the morning, and that's when there was not total candor and disclosure at that time. The records reflect that Dr. St. Julian came in the next day and the next day after with the intention of actually telling the couple the truth. The couple reasonably didn't want to talk to her at that time, and finally, a day after she was discharged, there was a meeting that occurred 4 days after delivery where Dr. St. Julian came clean.
Just for clarity purposes, can you kind of go through the timeline of when the birth happened or the C-section,
Sure.
when they learned their baby did not make it, and then when they learned
Okay,
what actually
okay.
happened?
And all of this is in the complaint, in the facts, but
And can you step closer to the...
yeah, all of this is in the complaint and it's in the facts, but the water broke at about 10 in the morning. They were admitted into the hospital at L&D at about 10 in the morning, 10:11 in the morning. The labor continued at about 8:40 in the evening. That's when she was fully dilated and she started pushing. All of the shoulder dystocia and the failure to sin occurred from 8:40 until about midnight. At about 11:49 p.m., after Dr. St. Julian had been manipulating the head and the neck and the like, trying to get this baby delivered, that's when she finally called for the stat C-section. And they took Miss Ross from the labor delivery suite, which is a separate room. The operating room was just right next door. So they rolled through the doors, and then they proceeded and started with the C-section. The C-section, the baby was delivered at about 12:11. That's what the records show. You could go back to the complaint and just verify. But about 10 minutes after rolling the baby back there, the mother back there, the baby was delivered again. Half of the baby first, and then the head a couple seconds after that. And then at 5 in the morning, after the surgery was over at 3 in the morning. At 5 in the morning, that's when Dr. St. Julian came in and gave them the misinformation.
Did your clients raise concerns during the delivery about how things were going, and did they feel like they were ignored because of their race?
The answer is, in fact, yes. There's going to be more evidence developed in this, but my clients asked for a C-section much sooner than it was ever delivered, while the baby was viable.
And I don't know if Jessica or Trayvon are willing to talk about just what the emotional impact has been like.
I can tell you, we've asked them to do that. They've declined at this point. It's just too overwhelming for them. I mean, that was the plan as of yesterday, but when they were sitting in the conference room, they looked at y'all and said, we just can't do it.
Sorry, one more question. Did they feel like insurance or lack of insurance was playing into this at all in the decision not to go for a C-section sooner?
No. All right. My law partner, Keith Lindsay, just has conclusionary remarks.
Thank you, Ron. Thank all of you for coming and attending this most important story. It is as horrific as it sounds. We're happy to email copies of the complaint to each and every one of you. We'll get with our paralegal Alexis for that. And then if you have any questions or requests for interviews, contact Ryan Julison. His number is 321-377-6877. Ryan Julison, and that's Julison at